So this is, again, this is how we produce the fruit. This is now, because again, you'll know them by their fruit, and this is exactly what it is. This is top branch. This is.
I like that. It's pari, asa, pari.
Mm-hmm.
Fruit on the front and fruit on the back.
Yeah.
And the middle is make it.
Yeah, very French almost right there.
I know,
Pari,
right?
pari. Yeah.
The tree yielding fruit, the ets.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna jump into this first right now. So let's go back to 4-7. So we've got too far off. Let's bring it back to 4-7-6-1 and go back to principality. And this is headship. And you can see that we already said that's Roche, and it's already from. Now we're going to take it to what it's really saying. This is the bitter, and then go down to that connector. It should be 4-7-6-3, and this is the place of the head.
Yep.
And it's the headrest. But again, then we're back to the hem. So it's the bitter. It's the olive sheen hay, and we don't need to spend too much time here. But
isn't this the verse that deals with Jacob?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can find it in there where I'm working on my screen, you can find it if you want to go down.
Yeah. So a certain place stayed all night, and because the sun had set, and he took one of the stones of the place and put it on his head.
Yep. And this is big because this is
Right
where
there.
we're going to be going. This is all about the spiral staircase.
Which it already says principality and powers.
Right.
Like there was going to be the reception of the Tav of the
Right.
Father's covenant, setting him in place. Wow.
Right.
And there we go, Jacob's ladder.
Yep. So this is all about Jacob's ladder, and this is all about the head wound, because that's what it is. He rested his head.
That's right.
And we're going to express this a little, and the next will be a couple from this point on, because I'm already breaking it down right now about how it ties into the steps and the spiral ladder and what that is.
And I just recently did that sharing on Jacob's ladder, and I literally broke down this verse, so we'll make sure that we connect it.
All right.
So it has to do with the head.
Yeah, and this is all about forgetting. And again, we forgot because we're going through the veil of forgetting, and now our job is to remember. And I think that's on the next teaching, is what the remembering is, and we're going to tie that into Ephraim and Manasseh, and you'll see that, because this is where we're going. This is the crossover place. But let's go. So we can see in this place that we have the place of the head.
Yep.
And then take it down to its root, 4-7-7-2.
Oh, no, this one is bringing up the feet.
This one's bringing up the feet. So the feet and the head are connected, right? And it's the same bitter.
Oh, yeah, so it was wanting us to compare this.
Right.
So we have the place of the head and the place of the feet.
Right. The place of the head and the place of the feet.
And there's your...
It's still the same one. It's
same mar.
So one is gathered the pieces, and that gimel in there means you have ripened and weaned the fruit. Really, that's what it's saying, is you've ripened, you've come off, you're matured, and now you're a teacher, or you've been taught, and then you've been taught the revelation. So you've been walking in the way of teachings. You're mature through the bitter. And your head and your feet are aligned. This is what this is saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's exactly where you want to be, completely aligned.
Well, and I love that this first verse has to do with Ruth.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Ruth and Boaz, kinsman, redeemer. That's a good connection. So a place of the feet.
Now I want to go to, in 4761, there's an occurrence that I wanted to break down. And 4761 was the principality.
Mm-hmm. Because this is the only time this word is used.
Yeah, we're going into Jeremiah 13:18, and we're going to start walking this thing down to say what's going on here, because this is what's happening.
Interesting first word.
Right.
We've got the bitter again.
Got the bitter. So this is one that's speaking as a mother. This would be one that is bitter, but it's not. It says speak as mother. because this one is now has become, and so we can see it from micro, from if you haven't is telling you what to, and if you have, then speak and say this from this position. So anyone that's completed the journey of mother is like she is really defined as an adversary, and we
Because if you do anything that's not becoming, because her whole process is to put you on the path of becoming.
right.
So
So
she's adversary when you're doing something that isn't.
and this is a dream that we've had, that we've shared before about the frequency. If you resonate to the frequency, then the adversary, you become the adversary to those around you, because you're vibrating to a frequency that's calling for a standard and an order of love to come forward, because that's the intended measure. And this has been hidden. And so until that point, the adversary is going to poke and prod until you're fully pierced through in the revelation of what love is, and you're realizing that you are distilling your own cup of love through the bitter and the sweet, and it makes a full cup. And so until you come that, then you're going to be walking this direction. But on this one says, speak as this, speak as one, as a strong leader who is a bitter cup. Like you are, but you're sweet too.
You
but
are one.
but you can't talk the sweet language, because this isn't a place of activation calling people forward, that you're going to have to walk this bitter walk.
Well, and the reason why this word is like say instead of speak is because look at this. It's mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's speaking to, and Rosh has an additional meaning that means the poor and destitute.
Right.
Right? So mother is speaking to the poor and destitute.
Right.
To raise them up to be a first fruit. But as she speaks, because she is as one, which means she's the strong authority here,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be bitter to you if you are in that poor and destitute place.
That's exactly, yeah, just said
Right?
it the same thing a different way, but
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Well, I just wanted to, because you
yeah,
can see it in the letters.
if
right
mother's
there.
talking to a child and the child doesn't want to clean the room,
And
then
being
mother's
rebellious.
hand is going to be a little firmer, and so she's
Yeah.
going to come across as bitter. It's just the way the word breaks down. It just
Yep.
associates through scripture to say it's a disciplinary measure to pull you in, so then you become the disciplined. It's really what it's saying. Mature, immature. And so now speak from the place of maturity to the immature. Speak what? Hamalek.
I was just pulling this up, just the difference between the speech and the word. Because this time, instead of speaking, it's debar. So now you're at the place where the door is open for the bar to go through. This ties in Genesis 1:1,
Yeah.
right? And bar is son, an heir,
Right.
an heir to a throne. So
Right.
there's two different phrases and spaces to speak, but this one is the lesser.
Yeah.
At this point. Well, because you're poor and destitute.
Right.
We're not speaking to the heir to the throne yet.
Right.
We got to raise you up.
So there needs to be maturity on this.
Yep.
And that's humility to
Mhm.
learn. And that's what meekness is power and control to become king. So let's go to 4. So now we're at 4428. So now we have a lamed added to the prefix of this. And this would be pointing, goading, directing, teaching, light, and this would be an LMD, lamed mem dalet. So this would be the teaching to the doorway, would be Yeshua, or to your heart, or to
Yep.
mother and father, because that's all the same language. So
Yeah,
you,
so behold, I stand at the door and knock. He's
right,
knocking on the place of our heart so he
right.
can instruct us
And he's a
on the
frequency,
inside.
because he's no longer here, yet he is here, but he's here in essence of frequency. So that frequency is calling us into the measure and the similitude of what this is. This would be a shepherd staff saying, I highly recommend that you're in this place for the covering, so you're in the resonance of. This is a king. And so this is a measure, and you can see that even in the core of this, the heart of this is sweet. Mem lamed again.
But this king hasn't turned his hand, king or queen, right? Because Malik means king or queen, even
Yep.
though the next one says queen mother.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't turned their hand up to receive. They haven't. They poured out their cup, right? It's empty. It needs to be filled, but they haven't turned it upright. And the words that we were looking at before in Aramaic,
Mm-hmm.
it was an upright cup.
So yeah, so they're speaking to the up and coming kings to
Yeah.
say, now again, macro, micro, right? This could still be a king in the earth, right? His hand is in the earth, and his authority and his principality is in the earth with that cock like that. And so it can be both ways. And he is speaking to those that are still in the earth, but they haven't grasped, they're not open, and and again, the cough means really to tame and to rule the beastly nature. So the king would be speaking with that degree. So again, it points both ways all the time. So that's what the king is doing. And it's the queen mother, and it's not it's and to the queen mother, it's not that's added. There it's just really what it's saying is it can be queen mother, that's fine. And speak as this, speak as the queen, and we've already established that really the queen of heaven is Ashra. You've become now a king queen are the same. It's a measure. And in this word, we have a vav on the prefix. Actually, we have a vav lamed, right?
Yeah.
So now we have humility as the teacher.
Yep.
Speak as the humble teacher. And the teacher doesn't rule and reign with overpowering or oppressiveness. A good reign, a good rule, lifts and elevates through edification and exhortation and assisting, because this person has already become the measure, and the measure is to be what they are. It's not to control.
Right. So it's a humble leader.
It's to free them and to show them what it is to be sovereign.
Right.
And so this is what this is telling.
And I love the fact that here in the middle of it, it's Gibber.
Right.
And it has, so Gibber as a strong and mighty, and the Yod is in the middle of it. So they've been given the power of love within the essence of their being.
Right. So why don't you go? Let's just break this down because we need to know what this Gibber is. So let's go to that word right there of queen is 1377, and it roots at 1376. So let's go to 1376.
Look at that. Lord.
Lord, and to be master.
Exactly. And look, we've got.
Because these are all connected with frequency. So we're only taking it to its root. So we can extrapolate out that this is what it's saying. So we can, like I'm saying, everything's connected. The only thing we're missing is if we're in the resonance, we're able to see this correctly and go like, oh, I see it from the vantage point of really adjudicating self, and all this measure is expression that's saying, build this. Here's all the pieces, build this.
Yep.
And so this is to become master, and this is through the journeyman. This is the journeyman apprentice master program, and this is how you do it. You build yourself through the lessons of mother and father.
And here's that word, asa, to make.
To make. Absolutely. That's why I want to bring it forward, because it is a very powerful word. And the ayin is in there now. So now you are a teacher, knowing as a fountain of the deep, you are spring waters that are feeding as fire, bringing forth the power of meekness.
So there's the fountain, if I can get it highlighted. There's the fountain of fire.
And that's a completed sheen, too. That's a quadrated sheen. That's a pretty powerful word.
Yeah, so that little diamond up there means quadration, and we've shared that before, but it also is a cannellation mark that means a gift from God.
Yeah, so that would be a gem. This would be a gem.
Yeah.
Okay, so that word Lord goes to 1396, so we may as well just extrapolate it out to what it's saying.
There we go. To be strong and mighty.
To be strong and mighty. And the water prevailed, right?
Yep, and then there's that Rabbah.
Right?
Increased, multiplied.
There you go. So then,
and so we have the revelation of the living water. It's the teachings of mother and father that are connected with the same common vision.
And that was 4767, to expand or to increase. And
exactly.
You've been given much. What is much? Much is this. You're to be strong and mighty and prevail. As waters below, as waters below, or above, as waters in, as waters out.
Right.
So within, so without, so below, above, so below. Right?
So as above, so
there
below.
You go.
Yeah.
Up, down.
And look at that. So it's the gathering. Right? It's the Gimel again, which we were talking about, the gathering and the lifting up of the teachers of light, bar. This goes back to Bereshit. Right. This talks about the innocent, the pure, the ones that are selected.
Yeah.
That are heirs to the throne.
Yeah.
That's why this word is so profound.
It's profound.
So when we take it back to the Queen Lady.
Yeah.
So it's all of that now has the power given within them, within their heart. And what are they having? It's the power of love. Right. Unconditional love. Right. And that's what makes them mighty.
Take it, go to 1397. It's still Gibber. I want people to see this, that again, we have to put everything within regal reach, that it's attainable. And so again, man is only
That's funny. Regal reach.
Mm-hmm.
That's also foot.
Yeah. So everything's coded.
So the regal garments that people wear, it's the foot garments.
Regal. So
Anyway,
so man is a frequency, so this is what man is. Again, this is resonating to go. Just let me see the word. So Gimel, Bet, Resh.
and it's got a double segol.
Right. This is really man. And so again, man, this is where we can break away division and we can say man is frequency, and out of man came another frequency. We're all man. We're all this frequency. Gimel, we are tamed. We have gathered all the pieces. We're built and fashioned in love, and we are standing as the head. That's what this is. So now we can say, oh,
as the first fruit.
As the first fruit,
Yep.
This would be what man would. We've given it an equation or an equivalent, and we've said man, this, right? So we can now we need to know what man is, and out of this Gimel Bet Resh came woman Isha, but only a frequency because they're all the same. Woman and man hemispherically are the same, so we can break this division of masculinity and feminine apart to see the pieces, and then we say, oh, they need to go back together. And so it would be completely grown up and matured into the resonance of a ripened fruit, built in the essence of love, because that is the temple, and then you're resonating as the Resh, the head of fire.
And Gimel would be a Gimel Mem Lamed.
Right.
So it's already telling you, gather the honey.
Gather the honey. Right.
Gather the honey.
And that would be the root of Gamiel, or is Gamiel?
Gamaliel, we don't need to go there. That's a whole
That's
nother.
Anyway, same word.
So this person serves Abed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been connected to mother and father, Avav. So we have humility and meekness, connected to mother and father as the beginning and the end, the first and the last, through the language of light.
So now
the strong love.
So right, and so now let's just see what this man would be if he was completed as completed L-ship. So go to 1403 real quick. Same spelling. It just has now the power, means, and direction of one who is light.
Look at that.
There's Gabriel, an archangel. Again, it's a frequency. We can move away that, oh, they're distant. You can bring it really up close and personal and intimate to yourself to say this is a resonance of man that is able to overcome and prevail as man to become El. That is Gabriel.
And there are teachings out there about angel morphism, which is what the Qumran community was speaking of.
That's what we're speaking of.
We are too. I'm just saying that was their premises of the education through the language of light, was to angel morphism.
Right.
Because really, king and queen, Malik, the difference between king and queen and an angel messenger is that king and queen is Mem Lamed Kaf, an angel is Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf.
Right.
So they have the oneness within them. They found the power of one love within their being, and now they're a messenger of it.
Right. And one love, again, is sitting in the throne, which is the amygdala, which is instead the pineal, is setting in your throne, and you're seeing perspective of both hemispheres correctly, mother and father, and you're ruling and reigning, adjudicating the merciful actions of love. This is how you bring mercy and adjudication, severity and mercy together, and you're standing in the middle of that because those are polemics. And it's an amazing place of authority and power. This is why much was given. 4767, much was given. So there you have the messenger right there.
Yeah, I just wanted to show that olive to say that I wasn't making it up.
Yeah.
So Gabriel.
I wanted to go to Gabriel, and so very cool. Where did I want to go? Oh, I wanted you to show, please, Israel, because go back to, because that one word in to be mighty and strong, 1396, which is tethered to all this, and people say, because I need to tether it back to man. So can you please go to 1396, and then we will quickly show.
Yep.
In its own definition, mighty, strong, go down to the bottom with the definitions a little fuller. And then prevail, to be strong, to prevail. And then can you go into...
Which would obviously, this would be the opposite of that in the dual system.
Right. And this is, right. Absolutely. And we're going to deal with that
duality.
Word. Yeah, we're going to deal with that word in a second, or in the next teaching. But I want you to go to Israel, please. Because we've talked about Israel and about what it is, and it's it's Jacob becoming Israel, but what is it? And this is how you become it. Israel is love. Israel is prevailed in the bitter. They become sweet, and then you see right there that Israel that it's you're striving through the work Jacob's wrestle, and then this is again what that Jacob's wrestle that's coming is those that haven't prevailed as El. That's what Jacob's wrestle is. They haven't had their head correctly healed, and so they're still working on the spiral staircase or their progression or whatever degree. But Jacob's wrestle is all about them not being the full measure. And so, can you go into Sarah so we can tether it to prevail, persist, exert oneself to prevail. The primitive root, have power as a prince. This is principality and power. Now, this is right Israel. This is one that rules and reigns because they've rightly ruled and reigned self.
And we're talking about a people group and not actually a nation.
We're not talking about the nation. We're talking about an individual man who has prevailed, become mighty one, a Gibberim or a Gabriel, and has become that intention of love. Gabriel is love. Gibberim is love. You're becoming. So these are those that prevailed.
Look at that.
We don't want to be, yeah, there you go. Nice. We don't want to be in the place of Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble is we want to be well on the other side of that. We want to be viewing it from Israel's side of it, already completed, because they've already gone through the steps of the spiral staircase, wrestled themselves in the process, and they prevailed in finding the measure of meek love.
So in other words, Jacob would be the wheat bride, and Israel would be the barley bride.
Yep.
Because the barley was winnowed through the Spirit prior to the time as the first of the first fruits.
Right.
So Jacob's trouble is before the name change.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. It's a progression.
Because I know I've had people ask me that, well, what do you think of Jacob's trouble? And it's like, well, that's if you haven't changed.
It means that you're well, again, so we can take that, we can break that into fractals, going like A, they're rebellious, or B, they're partial, or they're not seeing it correctly. And this
or
is why
C, they were never instructed.
This is why we're releasing this, so you can see, because how can you become something if you can't see the frequency of potential? If it's hidden still, and you're going like, and some of us are organically close to it, but we need to be resonating to it, knowing it, because that's the ayin, intimately knowing what it is. So, very cool.
So El is strength and mighty. And they're saying especially of the Almighty, but it's also used of any deity, and it's from my eel.
Yeah. But so we'll get into that, and that's the ram again, not negative, positive.
No, this is actually good.
But we'll get into that in another teaching. But let's go back to the verse so we can get this verse complete. But yes, I know, big stuff, and it's all part of pillars, chief, support, priestly, oak, tree. This is mantle, lintel. It's
so this is just to let people know, anything as a pillar or a pilaster was it's a symbol for a priest.
Yeah.
So when they would hear this word, they would automatically think of the priest.
And we'll break this down actually, that this is actually what she's showing you right now is the undergirding to Yod He Vav He.
Yep. And so right here, here's a Cohen, which is the word for priest, God.
Right.
Le'el, and this is from a pilaster.
Right.
And what do we have? We have the teachings of Mother and Father, the two bearers of light that teach the way of one. So you can become one with Source. Yeah. I and my Father are one, is what Yeshua said. So
yeah. And we'll break down Yod He Vav He is like the tree, and then there's still words underneath Yod He Vav He that go to the root ball to say what Yod He Vav He is.
And I've already taught on that.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Good. Okay, good.
Anybody who has watched teachings for a while is familiar with that, and if not, I will go ahead and connect and put a card on here for you to click so you can go and figure out what Yod He Vav He is.
Well, let's go back to Jeremiah 13 because we need to see what this beauty is and this Queen Mother. So let's see what it is and who they are. At Jeremiah 13, 18. And we'll finish this up. It's already getting a little long, but
I'll break it in parts.
Okay. So the Queen Mother, we just said who she was. It's Gabriel. It's mighty man. It's a master. It's all these things that have become. This is a teacher.
And it has the Father's revelation.
In 82:13. Yes, is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Queen Mother.
Oh yeah.
Right. So she's mighty. She's a teacher of light and instructor that is showing up on the mother's side because she has to start there first. But she does have the authority. and the Father's revelation.
Yes.
And she's come to reveal it.
Yes. 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 So we're going down to, and then the next word, humble yourselves. And
Become low and humble.
this is to abase yourself.
Yep.
This is to go low.
Yep.
You can see that in this word that we have the hey on the suffix or the prefix, sorry, and then we have a yod in the heart of this thing, and we have a vav on the suffix. So that would be the revelation or the breath. Humble yourself, become the living breath is what it's saying, that this individual is teaching as the breath out of your mouth. Inhalation, exhalation.
Inhale is olive, hey is exhale.
I breathe in one breath and I exhale out the breath. Therefore, I speak this. This is my resonance and my frequency.
And I am revealing to you as I speak.
Well, and they actually reveal themselves in the countenance of who they are, and they simply bring definition through what they're sharing. They're really just expressing themselves in what we would call words. And
yeah, because they have the fiery mouth.
Right. So this is what they're doing. They're expressing themselves through who already they vibrate to and as. And because that's the only way that you can speak this measure is by coming it, and you're speaking in your overflow, assisting others through the power, means, and direction, the vision to become another light or to become a teacher of that points and goes in the direction of and standing over the waters of chaos, because that's also and a mem and a dalit on that. And then the final vav, which is?
So, well, that's connecting to Father, and that's meekness.
Yep.
So really, this whole word is telling you how to humble yourself.
Yes.
So you need to receive the revelation that comes from the mother, as she is going to provide and give you the vision that you need to be placed within you, within your heart, within your root, so that you can connect to Father. And when you comprehend this and you have a knowing, gnosis, right? Da'at, when it becomes real to you, people call it an epiphany, it is going to humble you.
Yes.
And then I love this, sit down.
Well, now
so when people say you need to sit down, is because they're going to reveal something to you. So in this process, it's telling you this revelation is going to make you sit down.
Well, it's doing a macro and micro, and it's pointing.
I know there's a lot more here.
Yeah,
I was laughing because of the progression of this.
Completion points to the experience, and then experience points to the completion, and we sit in between it. And so this seat would be really you're sitting on the proverbial throne of really of the ark. That would be your chair, because that's exactly what you built if you're this. And that's another teaching a little forward of this, but giving you a little picture of what's happening. I mean, don't disrespect. We're touching things that can be touched because we resonate to the frequency of it. So we're seeing this word as sitting, and it's the fire that is completely built as meek. And it's morphed a little bit because this one has become the intended vision, because its root is actually Yod Shin Bet. And this is now your dwelling place. You built really a tabernacle. You are the tabernacle. You are an abode, an estate.
But this is very important too.
Mary. This would be the place of adjudication. If anyone's looked at the love message that went out, this is now your seat is in between the two pilasters of mother and father, and this is where you've adjudicated self and you're able to assist in the adjudication of others. Not negative adjudication. Is simply, again, you're either an adversary because you're mature and you're going to be bitter to some and you'll be sweet to others, dependent on where another is.
This is also the root to the word teshuvah, to repent and turn.
Right.
So turning.
This is a fully turned one.
That has consumed themselves in the building process, Bet Tov.
Yeah.
The 222.
Yeah.
In order to be able to be settled and connected to the Father in meekness.
Yeah. And people, I mean, again,
so they opened up their hand.
Yeah.
To receive.
Yeah.
And be filled and pierced.
Yeah.
With the power, means, and direction.
Yeah. And that's your art. That's the come down.
Yeah.
3588. Or sorry, the grasping.
The key, right? You're grasping a hold of the power, because both of these letters mean power.
Yeah.
One is the open hand, one is the closed hand. So this open cupped hand is saying, please fill me up.
Right.
I want to receive the power.
Right.
That is coming from the hand that gives.
The power that's coming down.
And so that power that's coming down is to give what? to
Yeah.
the poor and the destitute to make them first fruits,
Can you just click on that so people can
as
see?
if they go through the door.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the power you've gone up. Now this is the power that's coming down. So again, macro, micro. These are those that are built that have gone up. They're self-adjudicated. They're waiting for the full sealing of the Father. This was coming into the earth as the latter-day judges, not as a negative. This is judgment, but again, only an adjudication of love.
Well, and really, they don't have to do anything because they've become the measure standard of unconditional love. So their frequency alone is going to undo people.
Their frequency will either draw or repel based on a willingness, because we're still given a willing part of this.
Right.
But so the powers come down to fill them, and they have gone up to receive it, and now they're coming down in the measure of representation. They've completed themselves back to where they were when they came into the experience of love.
Yeah, and so you can even see in the definition here, to be prostrated.
Right.
Right? And to come down. Revelation.
Right. So they are
coming down
as the revealed.
Yeah.
Fully revealed, fully
that
manifested.
have the revelation.
Right. So now we're into the word of that principality word.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the principality that's coming down. Now this is going to be the turning. I don't know if it's going to be necessary of a pole shift. I think it's going to be a power shift, because it says the same thing in the natural and the spirit. This will be before that happens. This is going to happen. The principalities and powers will be coming down for right headship, right rule, and right reign. They have governed self, and they're going to teach right governance.
Yeah.
And that's what's coming down. And it says right in that word that they are mothers. They are the bitter. They will be the adversarial component. But again, in love only, they will be ones that have completed the measure as the strong measure of love, as mother and father's both vision. They sovereignly stand in between those visions as one knit, as the fire that reigns spiritually in the full authority of sovereignty's meek power, and resonating to the frequency of love, as this is the vision.
And they give that.
And they give that.
They give that.
Because they are. So what
Right.
else? That's all they can
And
do.
what do? They give it to the hand,
Mm-hmm.
the koth, the one that is wanting to be yoked and tamed through the Father,
Right.
Because this is on the suffix side.
Yep.
So these are those that want the power of the Father, through His revelation, and they have the open hand to receive it, so they can become completed.
Yeah.
In the surrounding water of the Father, which is out of chaos. It's above now. This is the waters from above.
Yeah, they've opened even because the cough is opening too. It's opening to bend. So they've opened and bent open, or they've received, or the open hand of that which is sealed. They are that now.
Right. And so if they're bending, that's automatically humble. So like several times in this verse, it's about humble yourself, humble yourself. And then on this word, we have both mems.
Yep.
We have mother and father.
And when I see that.
So if you want to rule and reign,
right,
you must go through the process of mother and father, and it's going to be bitter first.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, and you are going to have to walk through the fires of purification.
And in that word right there, so everything to me is between the pieces, again, just to assist people that want to do this. So even if you went to the extremities, the polemics of mem and mem on the suffix and the prefix, there's even reshit in that. So we have reshit, and in the heart of reshit is the sovereign measure of love.
Yeah, and this is very good to point out, because generally every time there's a yod within the middle of the word, it is meant to be finalized with the vav.
Right.
So if we go just to show people, so we have reshit, there's that yod that is waiting to connect. So really what you just took in the beginning, right? Now we're looking at the verse that they've become.
Right.
Because they've connected this vision within their heart, and they've been filled full of this.
And this has to be extracted in the end. Extracted in the end, because the end will be revealing the beginning, as the beginning has already revealed the end.
Yep.
The difficulty is all is revealed. Again, we just can't see it. Most can't see it. But if we spend our time in our due diligence, we can extract out a coded frequency of shorthand for extrapolating out the intention, because there it is, hidden in plain sight.
Right. And so right here we have the aleph, the beginning and the end.
Right.
And right in the middle of that is the consuming fire.
Yep. Yep. A burning heart.
Yep. The burning heart.
2 more words. And
that's big.
That's big.
Like our hearts, our sacred place of our hearts have to become a burning one.
Yep.
Because the spark is there. It's up to us to fan the flame.
Yep.
And this connects seraphim.
Yep.
As a burning one.
It does. And this is all about the walk of the seraphim
Yep.
that's producing it. That, again, there's some on the earth that are becoming seraphim, and there's other ones in the earth. I don't know what they would be in the measure above because it just hasn't been revealed. But we are all in progression of becoming something if we see it correctly. But this whole earth is the bitter walk of becoming. The purpose is to become the seraphim because that's what whispered in the garden that would have caused us to forget. So you'd become like what whispered in your ear. You're going to walk the walk of the seraphim, and you're going to experience what it is to be seraphim, so you know what the resonance is of who you are.
And just to bring this up, because I think this is important for people to see this as well, the progression. So cherubim is the plural of a cherub, and they've painted this picture of these little babies that have little wings that they're flying. Oh, it's a little cherub, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in a way, it is a young angel. It's a young messenger that's in training.
Mm-hmm.
And this word, this is karav.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between the het, the sword, the plow, the chariot, the rakab, the merkabah, is this order of being is one that holds their hand open to receive.
Right.
They've been completely emptied out.
Yeah.
They've emptied their cup.
Yeah.
It's completely empty, and they're saying, please fill me up.
Yes.
Because I'm poor and destitute. I went through the veil of forgetting. I don't know anything, and I need to be able to be connected to the 222 path, the Bet Tov, so that I can build myself.
Yep. Exactly what's going on.
Right?
Yeah.
And here's the Yod Mem, so they can become the C, which is representation of Asherah, through what? The connecting to the Aleph Tav,
Yep.
which is again is the same Vav Aleph Tav connecting heaven to earth.
Mm-hmm.
So we've never talked about that before, but since we're talking about the seraphim, it's really good to see the progression of a young angel that is in divinity school to become a burning seraphim.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So very good. So let's go now to the last two words. We have 5850.
The crown and glory.
Right. So this is the wreath and the crown. If you go into the word, so now we have ayin tet resh hey, and this would be the knowing of correct. Now in this usage, there's a tav on the suffix, and so now your crown is your. Actually, this is kind of like um, a redundancy here. This is saying your crown is your glory, right? Because your crown is with that added tav. It's saying your crown is resonating to the frequency of love. You have chosen correctly. You are now knowing of the choices, tet. You've chosen between as a fountain of youth. You've now chosen correctly between the
Because
tail.
you wrestled.
Yeah, right. that tet is a wrestle.
That's a wrestle in the
it means to
basket
wrestle
of
in
the
the
world.
basket. And that's where the door is too, is like you've been drawn out of the basket because you become the measure. And then you're the resh, which is again the head. So you've healed the head wound by doing what? By resonating to love. And that's what circles you. That is your glory that circles you.
Well, and the whole thing about the Adam Kadmon in Kabbalah is to get to the place of the crown, which is the never-ending light.
Mm-hmm.
To be an illuminated one that has the Christ anointing.
And that tav on that suffix, light and love are the same frequency. It's it's glory. It's a resonance, and we see that in the rendering down that light and love are resonating as.
And this is the mark we're seeking.
This is the mark, yeah, and it's a frequency.
Yep.
It's not like you're going to be resonating something out of you because you are it. So, and then the last word, and your glory, Tiprith.
Yep.
Big word, big word. This is beauty.
I love this here of rank and renown.
Right.
Renown.
Right. And so this is a measure.
And as an attribute of God.
Right. Yeah. Everything about this whole process is attributable. It's all acclamation of processing through inculcations and redundancies and we are gently receiving as we are generously given. And this is exactly because we're giving to ourselves. And so if we can see it correctly, we can just say, wow, be gentle to yourself, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, love one another well. And because we can expedite this process, not by trying to push it, but if we can just calibrate it, we can resonate as family to the frequency of love.
I do want to say too, though, before we move to glory, I just want to say that this root means to crown.
Yeah.
And if it's in its static root, it means it hasn't been activated yet. So you receive your crown when you receive the mark of the Father's covenant, the sign, signature, frequency change of unconditional love.
Yeah.
You have been crowned.
That's the head wound. You can't place the crown on a head wound. I'm sorry. I mean, it's going to be something that has.
And I believe we go in and we talk about the healing of the head wound in the next teaching.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So, yes, and this is by definition, this is also Tiprith is also beauty, right? You need to go into the word. You already did?
Beauty, splendor,
there you go.
glory,
Okay.
beauty, finery of
Perfect.
garments.
And as a crown, let's go into 5850. Go back one word though, because it's crown. Go into 5850, and let's just extrapolate out a little bit. Render it down to it's 5849. So there's the compression of the primitive root. Again, if it's the trunk of the tree or the foliage of the tree, we're going to the root ball, and this is what encircles you, right? This is everything that encompasses you in and out. This would be just ayin tet resh. That is compressed all in shorthand, and it says, and there's actually an A and a B in this, so you can just quickly show them, and then we'll end with that.
Well, I will say here, to be crowned. Look at that word.
Right.
The bestower of crowns.
Right.
Having the revelation of mother and father on the suffix and the prefix.
Right.
But you have to go through the living waters first.
Right.
And they will give you the vision that is within your heart that gives you the power and the means and direction to be crowned.
Right.
So A and B.
A and B.
To surround.
Mm-hmm.
And B. To crown.
Right. So you're completely surrounded.
Yep. And again, for protection, to encircle. So in other words, when you have been crowned with what we're showing right here, which is the sign, signature, covenant mark of the unconditional love,
Mm-hmm.
you are now fully protected.
Right.
You've been encircled.
And that's a lot of stuff in that. And hopefully that it assists someone just to see the motion that the next teaching again.
Well, we need to finish this. We didn't land the plane on your glory.
Oh, we didn't?
No.
Oh, I thought we did.
You wanted to go back to the crown.
Okay, so let's finish glory. I thought we did.
No.
All right. So we can see in this that Tiprith is encapsulated with both tabs. So we have mother and father in this. This is frequency of mother and father.
And the only way you're going to be able to get that is you have to have the frequency of the mother. You have to have the golden rule.
Right.
You have to be admitting that and doing that consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And you then allows you to receive the Father's revelation.
Yeah.
Without the Father's revelation, you will not be glorified.
Yeah.
In the Qumran community, they actually had a song called the glorification, self-glorification song.
Mm-hmm.
Right here.
Right.
This shows you how to glorify yourself.
In this word, we'll be breaking it down in the next session, but in the center of this word, there's a lot going on. We can't possibly go into it right now, but you're going to see that it's got par in here, par. You're going to see that because the pei aleph resh, it actually goes into really a seat of honor, and it talks about the fruit. This is exactly what Ephraim, and we're going to break down about what Ephraim is really doing in this, because this is about turning into light, and this is about what Pharaoh would have done because we brought this with principality and power, because that ties into the pharaonic line in the right essence and frequency of what school they would have had to go through.
Right, and what Moses was instructed in.
Right, and so he was representation of, and actually it's they said that potentially, I don't know, I'll just say this as a parentheses of conjecture, that he was Akhenaten, and in Hebrew, Akhenaten, Ak is brother, and Natan is to generously give. So he would have been the brother that was generously giving. That's Akhenaten. But so regardless, but
I just think that it's interesting too in this word that it's one that can explain and make clear.
Right. Yeah.
That's the part of the glory side of it, is that you have the knowing, so you can explain. You can explain where the glory came from. And you can make yourself very clear.
Right. And even the language in this is clarity is again, everything's tethered to the tree, and so we are rendering clear. This is grafting in language of, and there you have part. There you have fruit. But there's a lot in this word because
Well, you're going to go into it next teaching.
Yeah.
So to land the plane on this, simply the glory comes from having the marks of mother and father.
Yes.
So you've met the measure of mother through the golden rule. You've met the measure of father by having unconditional love. And how did you do it? You bent yourself and humbled yourself to receive the teachings of the living water, now set above.
Yeah.
Instead of down below in the waters of chaos.
Yeah, that's a weighty measure right there. That's
Yes,
resonating to light. It's just extrapolated.
And these are the twin covenants.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Tav,
22 and 22.
22 and 22.
And you see in between the 20. Can you highlight both of those?
Not at the same time.
Okay. So you can see that in between the pieces is a big deal because in its root, that would be it. The kaf mem are added. But in the root, it would have been a hey and a tav. But even on those pieces right there of tav, that's huge to have the first fruits to be.
You go into that.
Yeah.
But really, ultimately, what you're saying is you've walked between the pieces of the twin covenants.
Yes, and you now represent as the face and the mouth that speaks as the risen head. You would have full authority as Moshe shone with his horns. You are now one, right? Because those two visions.
Yeah.
In that olive, and you stand between it, sovereignly standing between the two pieces.
Yeah. And so really, now you have your crown and the glory.
Yeah. And this is the principality and the power, and this is what this is based off, and this is what's gone up, and this is what's coming down to hopefully shift us into the new paradigm of love, because you cannot cross over dimensionally until we resonate to the frequency of love.
So in their elevation, in their ascension process, they are coming down with this revelation.
Yes.
And they will be highlighted as having and found and becoming the crown of glory.
Yes. Yes. So, shalom, shalom.